Listen, children, to mother dear. There is nothing in nighttime to fear. Go to sleep, don't lie awake, lest you hear the laughing rays. Men who make coin with bloody blade, women who lure men to be their slaves, laughing rogues with their bloody gold, singing of deeds while the corpses grow cold. Don't grow to love the night and streets. Keep to the church and the tenants it keeps, or you'll walk down a bloody road with never a friend and always alone. I'm not a skilled musician. I did do some time in choir, although it's been many years. And I patterned this little piece off of Lullaby of Woe, which is popular because of the Witcher game. This is a song for a bit of world building. I thought I would share it with you so you get a sense of the temperament and the tone of the Umbral Aeons and what I'm shooting for. This is a very sad and distrustful piece, and it's typically sung as a lullaby. I imagine you'd see it all over Leonia, Paratonia. You probably would even see it in Tiberia and parts of Geatland that have gotten very urbanized. And the concern is very prevalent there. The concern being the fictional version of a kind of mafia I have going on all over the planet. This song in particular, for the piece that I wrote it for, The Laughing Rogue, is pretty poignant about the main character, Isadora, and her story, and about what she has chosen to do to herself. Heroic fiction doesn't have the flashbang of high fantasy, but I find it has much better characters. And in trying to give those characters depth and keep my world building consistent, I thought I would share this with you, some of the tools and background images and inspirations I use for the Umbral Aeons. I do have a Spanish version that I had to go to Google Translate for this, as my own Spanish is pretty nascent, and the rhythm, of course, will be very different. And patterning it off Lullaby of Woe is not meant to be exact. It was just that was the inspiration for the song. I imagine that you'd probably play this on a lute or maybe an oud, a Spanish guitarra, and it would sound different. It might even have more of an upbeat tempo, but I just like the mournful, almost madrigal sound of it. Thank you for listening. And yes, Umbral Aeons is still in the works. I have about, I'd say, 2/3 of the first stories done. I'm going back now and having to edit them for publication. I thought at first we'd be able to publish them in hard form, but that may not be possible. We may have to simply go to Kindle release, and we'll see what happens. The role-playing version, Cell Swords, is going through a rewrite as I'm rewriting some of my initial material. I lost a playtester, but I've gained another, and we'll see what happens. I'm thinking, I'm stress the word thinking, that I might test the role-playing system on a virtual tabletop, something like Roll20 here pretty soon, just to see if it works. I have great faith for this project and how it will produce results, as well as for XT6 and some of the other things that I'm currently working on. I didn't want you to think that I was idle, that I'd forgotten the project, in case you were listening. But things have happened. You can see our current campaigns over on Tales of the Otherworld, my wife's campaign, and the D&D 3rd Ed campaign that I'm running right now called The Hinterlands, which will probably end up being a Cell Swords setting at some place, at some point, or the high fantasy equivalent, Dying Tree, as the Dying Tree mythology makes up part of Hinterlands. But as always, heroic fantasy and, to a degree, pulp fiction have been my great loves, and so I thought I'd put this out there. The first characters you will probably experience are going to be Isadora, Gadra, Aiden, Irib, and Yokomura. And these are all characters that I have written 2 stories for in the first book, which we're calling 10 Tales of Shadow and Light. And then after that, they're all going to get their stories expanded so they have their own collections. The ultimate goal, of course, being to make the Sellswords / Umbral Aeons universe a shared experience and have other authors writing heroic fiction on this planet as well. So we have a shared plan on which to write our stories. You don't have to have great familiarity or have to deep dive into a different world setting's lore to become fully familiar. Other heroic fantasy projects I have coming up is I'm thinking about starting a playlist called Clashing Steel, which is going to be a review of sword and sorcery heroic fantasy fiction. I got the idea after finishing a little 5-book series called Raven, Sword Mistress of Chaos, and liking the world, but not liking some of the decisions on how that series ended. There will be some review of course, Robin Urban Howard there, Fritz Lieber. I forget who it is that writes Keurig. Is that Paul Anderson? It doesn't sound right. But various other sword and sorcery things will be reviewed there, as well as Umbral Aeons. I am loath right now to release too much of Umbral Aeons in the audio or visual formats, as we are trying to coalesce the initial 1.0 setting together. But after that, that was probably going to happen as well. If you want to see more of how I write and how I roleplay, you can see my videos on YouTube and BitChute. I have a series of fanfiction I'm writing in the Hyborian universe called The Chronicles of Lear, as well as some Conan stories I really need to finish up. This thing I wrote called the Arjun Quartet, as well as some Red Sonja stories. And that is what we have going on right now at Silver Weaver. We're pretty busy, and I regret I don't have more resources or more writers right now, but baby steps, one thing at a time.